Hey everyone, and welcome to Food Farms and Chefs. I am so grateful that Nish Patel, who is the owner of Del Rossi's Cheesesteaks and Co., is joining us for Food Farms and Chefs today. And it's a huge deal because this week coming up is going to be National Cheesesteak Day. So it's even more important to bring you on and to, talk to you about that particular Philadelphia favorite. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. So, I mean, as we wait for Jean to join us, because initially I was going to have Jean lead this, Jean Plum, who is my co-host, who is such a great guy. He'll jump on at some point in time, but in the meantime, can you let our listeners know how you got started in this business? Because it's kind of like really terrible timing when you had to open up.
Yeah, so Del Rossi's has been around since 2013, and I acquired it with my family in 2020, in March of 2020 to be specific. One of the best timings to buy a business. It was definitely certainly a challenging time, and we overcame it, but definitely had a uh, very quick go at learning the business and learning how to deal with COVID within a matter of weeks. It was definitely very challenging, and I'm glad we went through the experience, but I never want to experience that again.
I can imagine. I mean, and it's a good thing that you had a previously established business. So, at least the neighborhood knew the name, knew the brand. So that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
However, you acquiring it, obviously threw a wrench in your plans. But what was it like? Because you went straight into the pandemic where you would, were just acclimate, like you were ready to open up, do the whole grand opening, but you had to, from day one, moment one, acclimate to the pandemic and, work as a takeout place. What was that
Yeah,
like?
it was definitely very challenging. I mean, the we bought the business knowing that it performs at a certain level without COVID. Um, and day one, that business had dropped 50% because the business had relied on the government building across the street that administers the Social Security. And they had shut that building down the first or second week, I want to say. And they were a big part of our business. Even till this day, our lunch is not as busy as it used to be. However, by making like small tweaks to the business, we completely threw our pizza recipe out and we redid our pizza. And because of doing things like that, focusing on quality, focusing on service, we were able to not only get those sales back on night at night and dinner time, we were also able to exceed the previous ownership sales just because we had put a lot of effort into improving the quality of the food that we serve. But it was not an easy task. First few months were challenging to say the least because our sales had dropped off so much
Yeah.
because the lunch business had completely disappeared on us. But we definitely came out on the other end of it much stronger. Um, so definitely appreciate the staff for stepping up and realizing that we need to make a change, and we're definitely stronger now because of it and more
Yeah.
resilient, I want to say. Yeah.
And that's a very, very good thing. Now, I want to say, because you had kind of mentioned it, but I know that part of what, created that enhancement of your menu and what you were offering was that you brought on Chef Gregorio Fierro. I want to say his
Yeah.
name was. Yes. So what were some of the changes that he implemented?
So I was never a big fan of the pizza at Del Rossi's before I had acquired the business. I knew that it was one of the spots of the business that I wasn't a big fan of. Uh, it just was very basic corner shop pizza and super doughy and soft and overly cheesy, and it just wasn't good.
Yeah.
And we were striving to be great, and especially with people's palate changing with Dave Portnoy from Barstool introducing people to, like, the style that he likes, which is very crispy and light, and which is what, and frankly, everyone should like, because it's made the right way. And I wanted to go for that, and I didn't have the baking background or the experience to just make the changes myself, so I had to ask for help. So I was looking for some type of pizza consultant for a while, and I finally met Gregorio through our cheese vendor, Grind Cheese, and Gregorio helped. He's like, "How crazy do you want to get with this?" And I'm like, "We want one of the best products in the city, if not the country. Help me do that. How can I do it? Because I know
Yeah.
I have the work ethic to make it happen. I just don't know how to do it."
Yeah.
So, little by little, he showed us changes that we could make to improve the recipe. And, we started implementing these changes, I want to say 2021, like middle of 2021. And there's definitely been like challenges, and like, and we thought it was too chewy when we made the changes in the beginning, and we had to work on that. And it's just the fermentation process of making pizza dough is very delicate. You really have to nurture it. And we still work on it every day, and we've become pretty good at it now. But there's always a learning curve with this stuff. When the weather changes, it takes us 3 days to make our dough, and because of that, it's super light and super digestible. Won't spike your blood sugar. You won't feel super bloated after it, and it's super crispy and light. I can go on and on about it, but the behind the scenes work that goes into making this product is very intense and very calculated, and very thorough.
Yeah. And I
Um,
mean, I know that flour, like every ingredient counts. And I know that, the best flour that you can get out there is imported from Italy, and it's the OO flour, which I think on your website I read that you import the flour or whatnot to in order to create that perfect dough and that consistency that you're trying to get to. So what other items, am I correct in that,
yeah,
for one?
yeah, definitely. So we use Italian flour and a blend of American flour as well. But everything that we use is uh, bromate and bleach free. So everything is unbleached and bromate free. And
Which is
we
healthier
try
for
to
you.
use yeah, we try to use a lower protein flour, just because it gives us it is more difficult to work with, but that's just how crazy we are about quality. When you have a lower protein flour, it's just easier on your stomach. It's easier to digest, but it's harder to work with. It's very delicate. So when you are stretching a large pie, it could rip on you. You could have thin
Mm.
spots, and those things we worked on over time to try to perfect, and we still work on it to perfect it. But we use imported olive oil, kosher salt, malted barley flour to help give it a darker color. That's the baker's secret that everyone talks about in the baking world. Um, but a lot of it's just time. It's just putting in time and letting it rest and ferment, and event not rushing the process. If you rush the process, it just doesn't turn out as good as you want it to. And we've tried that, like, how can we ferment it quicker? It's just that the dough is going to do what it's going to do. You just have to account for the amount of time it's going to take.
Yeah.
You can't rush the process, because comparatively, what we used to do at Del Rossi's was we'd make the pizza dough at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it would be ready by lunch. It would just have so much yeast in it to get it ready fast, and it's just super soft because the proteins haven't relaxed, they haven't broken down, and it's not good to do it the old traditional way. The corner pizza shops do it, where you just, not to talk crap about any pizza makers out there, it's just, if you're going to do it the right way, this is the way to do it, is giving it time, and and caring for the product, and not just slinging pies after making the dough in the morning and just serving it at lunch.
Yeah. So getting into some of, obviously you have your base that we've thoroughly discussed, which is the pizza dough. What are some of the options that you guys offer there?
We do obviously the traditional pie. All of our sauce is made with Jersey tomatoes and blend of Italian tomatoes. Uh, and we offer like white pizzas that are like specialty made. We do this pizza called the long hot special. It's like a very super Philly pizza. It's got long hots, onions, sausage, and a garlic crust. So we just rub the crust with olive oil and garlic,
Mm.
and it's super crispy, charred, and it's just so light. Like you bite into it, it's like I don't know how to describe that. Like it's like almost like a croissant. It falls apart in your mouth, but it's so crispy.
I mean,
Um,
tell me something that I wouldn't love.
so that's my favorite pizza. That was like, we came up with that. We were just experimenting when we started doing this dough. Then we like are really good at, we've gotten pretty good at making strombolis. We came up with this stromboli called the Philly roll, and it's our pizza dough wrapped with our cheesesteak meat, long hots, garlic oil, um, and Cooper sharp cheese, and it's just like a cheesesteak, but in our pizza dough, and it's so crispy and so light. Uh, it's probably uh, the second best cheesesteak in our store, right? Like our cheesesteak is really good, but this stromboli definitely puts up a great fight with it. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Now, I want to also, because I mean, as I said, the National Cheesesteak Day is coming up on March, I forget, March 22nd, or sorry, 24th. And
yeah,
I believe it's Friday, so I mean, even better.
yeah.
But so what are some of the cheesesteaks that you guys offer, and how do your cheesesteaks differentiate against others?
Obviously we have the traditional cheesesteak, the Philly cheesesteak, which is just ribeye and onions, Cooper sharp, and we've gotten creative with sauces. We've done a Chipotle cheesesteak. We make the. Sorry, that's my car. I don't know if you heard the beeping.
No, I
Uh,
didn't.
okay. We have a Chipotle chicken cheesesteak and a Chipotle cheesesteak, which is a house-made Chipotle sauce. Um, it's we use real Chipotle peppers and we make a sauce out of it. And when we cook the steak, we put the sauce in there, and when we cook the chicken, we put the sauce in there on the grill, and it's like super spicy and tangy. It's really good. So that's something that we've created. We're kind of working on other sauces to come up with more flavor profiles, but the traditional cheesesteak, it's like we cut all of the meat in house. We get ribeyes from a domestic farm that really takes care of their cattle. Everything is grass fed, pasture raised, so the cows are humanely treated. Who knew if you treat your animals humanely, they'll yield a better product.
Well,
So we have
yeah.
like a premium ribeye that we have, and we're one of the only few restaurants in the country that have access to this ribeye. And we take that ribeye and we shave it in the restaurant every day. So that's definitely what differentiates us. I know we've gotten offers from many like food suppliers of like pre-cut ribeyes and formed ribeyes and stuff like that. And like, we get samples dropped off to us all the time. We try everything just because you don't want to be like, what if there is a better product out there? And we try everything and nothing has really like we do blind tests. So we're not like, uh, I guess biased, right?
Mm.
So we'll do blind tests with the whole staff, and the staff always picks our meat. And we've been through this probably 20, 30 times in the last 3 years. We'll compare our meat to any other meat that's out there in blind tests, and our meat always wins. There's been times where it was like close, but it's just a good product, and we don't want to sacrifice quality in order to save labor or time or money. It is what it is. The old owners had this meat, and we kept it the same way. The only thing that we've done is we now use Cooper sharp cheese instead of just processed American cheese,
Yeah.
which was an upgrade that we gave the cheesesteak, and people love it. So
Yeah, and I mean, you can't go wrong with Cooper Sharp. I know a lot of restaurateurs utilize Cooper Sharp for their cheesesteaks, and it makes a difference. But it sounds like all around, all encompassing, everything that you're putting into is thought through within the taste profile, because no matter what it boils down to, like, your ingredients matter. So the freshest, the most healthiest, meats and vegetables and, whatnot that you utilize, it makes a difference to, like, when you're creating that profile for your food
Yeah.
and the consistency. And it sounds like that's what you guys are, always after. So that would add to why you are so popular.
Yeah, and our customers definitely will give us feedback, and we try to collect as much feedback as possible. One of my big things was that when I got to Del Rossi's, the menu was just so large, and there were all these like frozen menu items. Not gonna lie, just I was like, if we're running this restaurant and we have this high quality cheesesteak, why are we carrying all this frozen stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I played this game of how many things can we get rid of the menu and not have the customers complain. In the beginning, I started picking things off every week. I would pick one item, take it off the menu, and sales didn't really drop off too much. The last quarter of last year, we got rid of salads, and nothing in the salads was frozen or anything. It's just that we weren't that great at it, and I was. I didn't have the time to focus on salads. I wanted to focus on making great pizza and great cheesesteaks. And if you're trying to be good at like 20 different things, you're going to be average at all of them. So my thing was like, why don't we just focus on things that are good in the
Yeah.
restaurant that we specialize in, and just give it 100% instead of giving everything 75%, you
Yeah.
know? And that's what we committed to. And, sometimes customers do complain that, hey, like, I loved your salad, and we apologize and tell them, this is not what we're good at. We specialize in pizza and cheesesteaks, and that's absolutely 100% what we want to focus on.
Yeah.
Um,
And that
so
matters. Now moving forward in the last minute or so that we have you, what are some of the things that people can look forward to, and how can they find you online and in person?
Online at delrossisrestaurant.com. We have an Instagram, Del Rossi Cheesesteak Co. I think we have like 10,000 followers now, which is pretty cool. A lot of people support us. And we're available on DoorDash, Uber Eats. We also, obviously, if you want to save a little bit of money, you could pick it up in the restaurant. That's the best way because we have a dining room. If you want to experience the food fresh, you definitely should order and eat it right then and there instead of getting it delivered to you 20 minutes later.
Yeah, because then
Um,
it kind of gets that like sogginess from like sitting inside of a
yeah,
box or
exactly. And no matter how many holes you put in boxes to get the steam out, it's just not going to be as good as when you have it right out of the oven or right off the grill. And
yeah.
that's why we have a dining room. A lot of our customers do choose to eat there, especially on the weekends. We see a lot of people eating in too. But takeout and delivery is still biggest piece of our business right now, just
Yeah.
like any other pizza shop in the country. So,
So are you going to run any specials for National Cheesesteak Day?
not running any specials just because we put in so much time into our product. But we are like launching that stromboli that I was telling you this week, that
Oh,
Philly
that's awesome.
stromboli.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of thought about. We were like, when should we launch it? And we were thinking this week. So we launched it this week. It's just we had tested a few times just to make sure it was done right. And this is the week we're launching it. I believe we're going live with it online tomorrow,
Okay.
just to kind of get customers to give it a shot. And yeah, that's what we're excited for National Cheesesteak Day. And I think it should be a big hit because we're a cheesesteak and a pizza shop. So this is the best of both worlds. People get to try our homemade crust and, obviously the great beef that we use. So
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nish, for joining us on Food Farms and Chefs. And I look forward to swinging by and trying that stromboli.
thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, you definitely have to. And you have to try that long hot special that I told you about.
Exactly. All right.
Thanks
So
for having me. Appreciate it.
no problem. Thank you for joining us. And we'll talk to you later. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, and welcome back to Food Farms and Chefs. I am very happy to bring on Jacob Looney, who is and it's a long title, everyone, so be prepared, the Director of Visitors experiences at New Liberty Distilling. So, Jacob, what is, I mean, we already discussed this a little bit, but
Yeah.
let our listeners know what you actually do for the company.
Don't make you laugh. That's actually the shortened title of what my old title used to be. To give everybody kind of a brief intro. Also, guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for having me on. Excited to talk with everyone about the distillery. So I am basically the guy that manages anything that has to do with anyone that goes into the distillery that doesn't work there. So we have a director of operations who's everything with production, and then my end is anything with folks being in the building. So whether that's our bottle shop programs that we do, tours, and then our multiple bar programs, even the website experience that falls under my purview and leadership. So it's a lot of different hats that I wear. It's everything from like one day I'm your tour guide, the next day I'm your bar manager, the next day I'm going to be, working on the website. So it's just a little bit of everything.
So if we like say somebody wanted to throw a private party and include a tour, they would, reach out to New Liberty, but they would direct the individual to you.
Exactly. Yeah, you'd end up in my inbox for sure. And then we do have some team members that I would kind of guide and follow you through our events coordination team and whatnot. But the private events are great. We have 3 different spaces that we rent out. So there's a lot of opportunity. With that, we try to always keep a space open so that anyone coming in for the public, there's always going to be something to do at the distillery.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to delve a little bit into the business. I don't know how much of the history you actually know, because the different like the more I actually researched, the more I was like, oh, this is confusing.
Yeah, it is layered and complex for sure.
It 100% is layered and complex. And it's funny because it's, the owners are both, distillers from previous, or I shouldn't say previous, because they both still distill at those locations and own them, I'm assuming.
Yes.
But they joined forces and collaborated together in order to create the new distillery, or New Liberty Distillery, if I'm correct.
So it's complex in our realm of that we have a lot of different brands and house names. The overarching company is Millstone Spirits Group, who was started by the gentleman that you're referring to. Robert Castle is the primary president and CEO right now at the time. He's also started off as the main distiller and is now like the primary creative driven force behind all the products that we make. Underneath that, you have 2 big houses. You have the New Liberty House, which is the location in Philadelphia, and then we have the Faber House, which is the location out in Quakertown, PA. One side focuses much more on flavored vodkas and well spirits for people in the industry, and the New Liberty side focuses a little bit more on craft whiskey, rums, and then some other clear spirits and liqueurs that we do. Even within those house brands, though, I could rattle off 10 different brands under each of them. The one folks might know the most well or have seen on shelves before is a brand called Kinsey. And that in itself is a brand that dates back to the 1890s and has a kaleidoscope of owners and distributors and people that were managing it and locations. And so just as complex as we are now today. What's kind of cool though is the main guy, Robert Castle, who I mentioned before, the president. He grew up just outside of where Kinsey used to be distilled and was operated out in Linfield, PA. And so they shut down in the 80s and just sat vacant, abandoned. Like it was filled too with old Kinsey swag, boxes, merchandise, barrels. And so being a teenage kid, he spent a lot of time just like rummaging around this old distillery, buying some really cool stuff, fell in love with the brand. And then after moving on from his previous distillery, which was focused on gin and other clear spirits, he's like, all right, I'm going to relaunch this brand. I'm going to make it happen. Acquired the rights, actually got his hands on some original Kinsey bottles and put a big effort towards bringing this brand back to what it was in its heyday in the 1940s. So a lot of history to unpack there, but
Yeah, and it's funny because I was at the Reading Terminal Market, which has a new allowance of selling liquor. And I forget the name of the actual place, but it's funny because I took a picture of it. But when I was in there, I was, taking photos, and one of the salespeople, was showing people or other people around there, and they were looking for recommendations. And funny enough, one of the things that they recommended was Kinsey. And now I was unfamiliar with Kinsey at the time. So I was like, huh, that's interesting. And so having it tied around now, I was like, it's kismet.
Yeah, right. It's funny. Yeah, we find a way to be just about everywhere we can in Pennsylvania. The one place you're remembering is called Pennsylvania Libations. So
That's
they
it.
have their primary brick and mortars out in Pittsburgh, and we've actually been working with them as a distributor and to use some of our satellite licenses to launch these small little brick and mortar shops, which is interesting as a counterpoint to what most folks just think you have to go to fine wine conspiracy to get any liquor in the state of PA. But as a distillery, you can operate as a bottle shop and sell other distilled products in PA. So the PA Libations team, they're a really, really cool shop. They just sell Pennsylvania-made products. And so we get to be one of their featured ones at the Philadelphia location in Reading Terminal Market.
Yeah. And it definitely, props to them because they definitely pointed you out.
Oh, cool. Right on. They're really cool too. So I try to be there as much as I can to say hey and make sure they know the products well and they like them just as much as I do. So
Yeah. Now I know I think it was last year you guys partnered up with Malcolm Jenkins to create a whiskey that's like black and brown driven farm, like from the ingredients that go into it, black and brown farmers. So I didn't see anything in my research with the outcome of that. And I don't know if that's because it's still sitting in a barrel being, fermented, but can you tell a little bit more about that partnership?
yeah, absolutely. So Malcolm and Rob, they go way back. They started off with the Malcolm Jenkins Foundation, working with them with their yearly annual fundraiser to do a VIP tour experience. Malcolm's a whiskey drinker himself, so bringing folks along and kind of seeing the full process, he fell in love with it. And him and Rob started collaborating on ideas of like just what type of whiskey he would envision as something that would best represent himself. And the big thing that they landed on is that they wanted to source from a local farmer that was black and brown owned, and that's really where they're at right now. Still, is looking for that local farm that they can work with for that grain. The biggest challenge when launching an actual distilled product that is farm to glass is that process of making sure that they have enough of that crop set to make sure that we can continue this on, that we can grow with the product. And so I know they have met with some farmers, but they're still looking to find that source of grain. But I know he likes bourbon, so if you guys are excited about bourbon, get ready because a couple of years we'll have a cool one.
I love bourbon, and I actually have a name to throw at you after we finish this interview, who can probably help you out with that. So
okay, cool.
Yeah. But moving forward, I want to also mention the fact that we brought you on specifically because National Whiskey Day is coming up. So I wanted to just do you guys have anything at the ready to celebrate, in one of your tasting rooms per se, or any deals that you might be offering?
We always have some type of really cool whiskey package that's put together that people can purchase on International Whiskey Day. I remember last year we had this one that was you get 3 different bottles of whiskey, and it was called the Maverick set. And it was kind of your whiskeys that don't follow the traditional track of what you might expect of oh, here's another Kentucky bourbon, or here is another rye on the shelf. So that one was our American whiskey, which is basically a bourbon that breaks a lot of the rules of being a bourbon. It was our Kinsey Zinfandel cask, which is a previously aged in bourbon cask and then aged in red Zinfandel barrels. And then it was another whiskey that is called our Bloody Butcher bourbon, which utilizes a locally grown heirloom variety of corn called Bloody Butcher corn. It is unlike any bourbon I've ever had before. It is savory, it is rebellious, it is bold and upfront. And so that was a really cool package to put together. I'm thinking we'll have similar things. Our whiskey list has expanded, so it's going to be on my deck this week to figure out some creative package options that we can put together that will get people excited and, be able to take home a little bit of a bundle package of
Yeah.
our spirits.
I mean, I love bourbons. I'm temperamental, or I should say my palate's very temperamental with whiskeys that,
Mhm.
because the bite of the peaty bite. Um, but like the smoothness, because bourbons obviously are just fermented for a little bit longer, and they have that more smooth like profile on your palate, which makes it easier for me to take in. But I just kind of like it also because the smoothness, but it's also like the caramelization from
Oh yeah.
ferment. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah,
But
we have a lot of different bourbons right now in our portfolio. So if you're a bourbon drinker, you got to drop by because we do different flights and different ways that you can experience and enjoy it in the tasting room.
and that's like I think key too to like mention, because I infrequently, I think I don't always think about this when I think of distilleries, but you can get flights at distilleries, but one
Mhm.
of the things that you guys also offer is cordials and liqueurs.
Oh yeah, that's one of our really interesting lines that's always shifting and swaying depending on the seasons. So right now they just got in a huge crop of blackberries that have been macerating in like 190 proof alcohol for the past couple weeks. They're going to slightly sweeten it with mulberry juice and cane sugar. And
Mm,
then we're going to be having our new version of the blackberry bramble coming out probably in the next 2 weeks or so. We just released a sour cherry liqueur. We have some really odds and ends in there. There's one that we did called Creme de Violette, which
okay.
is you might have seen it on the shelf before. It's a tall bottle, normally bright purple color to it, and incredible botanical flavor profile.
I
It's made with orris root as an extraction to give that kind of earthy, blossomy rose flavor. Uh, What's fun though is when you put in cocktails, especially if you add a citric element to it, it'll
mhm.
actually change colors in the glass. So you get this kind of magic trick as you're making a cocktail for people. So they see it go in one color and they see it come out this beautiful shade of purple. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun, but also like you should get like like if you're gonna like really like take it up a notch, get some edible sugar, and like say for like Easter or something, like to bring, add a differential to the cocktail. Maybe add a little bit of the edible sugar in, so that when you pour that citrus in, maybe do it in front of like the people tasting, sitting there at the tasting, and so it kind of blooms before
I
their
like that.
eyes.
Yeah. The more you can get
Sorry.
them like mesmerized them with a
Yeah.
drink, the better.
Giving you ideas.
Love it.
So I mean, I don't want to like overtake anything, but so what are you also have a connection to whiskeys overseas as well?
Absolutely. It's pretty wild. Kinsey, that brand that we had mentioned before, they actually had a scotch that they launched in the 1960s. The owner at the time recognized that single malts were becoming a burgeoning trend and actually launched several distillery locations in Scotland for the purpose of being able to enjoy scotch that he got his hands on, but also to be able to import it back. So you could put the word Kinsey, call it scotch legally, have it distilled there, but be a Kinsey product. And so we've actually done something similar. We have our own Kinsey Scotch. So we work with that distillery and they do a custom blend profile for us. But what's even cooler is that on the other side of that area of the world, we also have an Irish whiskey that we pull over. So that guy Rob that I mentioned, he is quite the entrepreneur. Has a lot of distilleries that he's worked with, but he actually helped launch a distillery in Connacht, Ireland. They have just released their own single malt, but they have their own line and family of whiskeys and are kind enough to send some over for us to enjoy as well. So it's pretty cool that on our menu, you can come in. We love to make classics for people, and one of the most classic options you can do is an old fashioned. And so folks can actually take a look at our entire shelf of whiskeys and be like, all right, make me a custom old fashioned with that one up there. And so you can jump around the world and do a Scotch old fashioned, Irish old fashioned, bourbon old fashioned. You want to go super traditional, blue rye old fashioned. We'll do it all. So it's really cool to kind of have this, little global net of flavor profiles that we can work with and introduce folks to, and definitely educate on as well.
Yeah. And definitely 100%. celebrate International Whiskey Day on
Mhm.
the 27th of this month, at your bar, doing tastings from
Yeah.
around the globe.
One of my favorite cocktails that we have on the menu is called the Cameron's Kick. And this one normally it's a blend of Irish whiskey, Scotch, orgeat, and lemon juice. It's kind of like a tiki sour with whiskey. We take it that step further though and throw in some American whiskey with that. So you have this trifecta of whiskeys going in there to create this beautiful blend of flavor profiles that is creamy and just enough sour to pull through. It still has a whiskey sour, but you get all those elements of what whiskey has to offer. It's one of my favorite drinks on the menu right now.
Gotcha. Now, I have to say that I am a huge fan of Manhattans and old fashions. So, what do you do to tweak like an old fashioned?
Speaking of old fashioned, I mean, ultimately, with that being the biggest amount that goes into that drink, the whiskey is going to be your main character that is going to shine outward. One of our, I would say, our most unique cocktails that we have on the menu is a 136 proof old fashioned. So we have this one whiskey that is a 15-year American blend whiskey. So it was corn whiskey that went into a previously used bourbon barrel that still had bourbon in it dating back to the 1990s. That sat in Philadelphia from 2004 until around November or so of last year. We only had so many barrels left, so we decided let's put them all together, let's drop it. Whatever the proof is, that's what's going to be in the bottle. It came out just a little bit over 136 proof. And being the crazy guy that I am, the last name Looney really stands true to my personality. I was like, let's make a drink with this. So we did an old fashioned with it, but our first take on it was like, okay, this is good, but like something's missing. We need to like up the ante on this. So normally you're thinking old fashioned and you got classic recipe, bitters, sugar, water, whiskey. Those
Yeah,
are your
your
constitutional
basics.
specs.
Yeah.
This one we up the ante. What they would refer to in the 19th century as an improved old fashioned. So there's a couple dashes of absinthe in it.
Oh,
Uh, it's a mix of Peychaud and Angostura bitters. And then the syrup that we use, our sugar, we actually make from a golden monkey ale.
okay.
So we turn that into essentially a cordial. So it retains that proof. We're not cooking off any alcohol in this experiment. Use that as the syrup to balance all those warm kind of caramel vanilla notes of that 136 proof whiskey. Calm
Yeah.
it down with just a little bit of chill and dilution. And it is like one of the smoothest drinks we have on the menu. You take a sip of it and you have no idea that it is 136 proof whiskey. And it's the thing of magic that it works as well as it does.
So one last question, and it's a
Yep.
yes or a no.
Okay.
Because it's such a high proof, do you limit how many you allow somebody to drink?
Uh, Covertly, yes. It's one that I tell my bartender, you keep a sharp eye on that person. Because they're incredibly easy to sit back and like before you know it, you're like, all right, let's do round three. I haven't gone the Trader Vic's style putting it on the menu of a limit of two. That might strike up more curiosity about the cocktail if I do. But we do keep a sharp eye on those that are ordering them.
Yeah, I would totally recommend doing that.
Yeah.
Now for anybody who is looking to actually, have a tasting and, purchase some of your products, where can they find you in person and online?
Yeah, online's the easiest. Just head to libertydistillery.com. On our shop page, you'll find any of the newest spirits. Also on our social media profiles, our Facebook and Instagram, you'll see all the latest stuff that is coming out. If you want to come hang out with us and bring some whiskey, I would recommend doing one of our private tours. There we do have one option where you actually get to taste from a barrel. You get to taste directly from the still. It's a really, really cool experience, and we can book it whenever time is best for you. If you're looking to come hang out and have a drink, try some funky cocktails with me. Thursdays through Saturdays right now is when we're operating, and it's from 2 o'clock until 11 o'clock.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us on Food Farms and Chefs. And I look forward to some of the new products that are coming out because that sounds amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. You got to come by. I'll make you that 136 proof old fashioned. We'll see what you think.
I will hold you to that. All right. And for anybody who would like to tune in and hear the show, you can follow us online at Food Farms and Chefs. If you would like to reach out to Gene Blum, he is at ibfoodie2@yahoo.com. If you would like to reach out to myself to be a guest or a sponsor on the show, you can email me at arpolicus@gmail.com. And happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy Tuesday, guys.